And next we have Matthew again. Round of applause, please.
I found them. The only problem? I realized also that when I threw my binder, I broke it. Yeah! I need more things to be mad about now, don't I? So here's more haiku from the class that I did the haiboon for also. Roast beef sandwiches. No, wait, that sounds really dumb. Pork chop sandwiches. Run faster than fast, to where no one really knows. Just run there quickly. My skin is melting. It's just so damn hot outside. Wish it were winter. Wrapped in bandages, brought back to life by a curse, we are all so doomed. The price my parents paid for adopting me was $8.12. I wish I were made of rubber so I could bounce all across the world. Ballpoint pen explodes, a piece of paper ruined. No more pens for me. That's all I got. Thank you. Sign the fucking list, or I will punch you all who haven't gone. Not really, because I don't want to get in trouble. Just pretty, please. I'm angry. Does that help? Please.
And next up we have Miriam Hitchcock. Please give her a round of applause.
Alright, this might take a little while, so you all have plenty of time to sign up on the list. You should do it. I'm going to read from A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. It's a story, it's a convoluted story, but the part of the story that I'm reading is there is a woman who came to India during the beginning-ish of the British rule there. And she and another person who she's traveling with are meeting some people from India because she had actually wanted to meet the people who lived there, even though, I'll just read the passage, it'll make more sense, maybe. Visitors like you are too rare. They are indeed, said Professor Godboll. Such affability is seldom seen. But what can we offer to detain them? Mangoes, mangoes, they laughed. Even mangoes can be gotten in England now, put in Fielding. They ship them in ice-cold rooms. You can make India in England, apparently, just as you can make England in India. Frightfully expensive in both cases, said the girl. I suppose so. And nasty. But the host wouldn't allow the conversation to take this heavy turn. He turned to the old lady, who looked flustered and put out, he could not imagine why, and asked about her own plans. She replied that she should like to see over the college. Everyone immediately rose, with the exception of Professor Godboll, who was finishing a banana. Don't you come too, Adela. You dislike institutions. Yes, that is so, said Miss Quested, and sat down again. Aziz hesitated. His audience was splitting up. The more familiar half was going, but the more attentive remained. Reflecting that it was an unconventional afternoon, he stopped. Talk went on as before. Could one offer the visitors unripe mangoes in a fool? I speak now as a doctor. No. Then the old man said, but I will send you up a few healthy sweets. I will give myself that pleasure. Miss Quested, Professor Godboll's sweets are delicious, said Aziz sadly, for he wanted to send sweets too, and had no wife to cook them. They will give you a real Indian treat. In my poor position, I can give you nothing. I don't know why you say that, when you have kindly asked us to your house. He thought again of his bungalow with horror. Good heavens, the stupid girl had taken him at his word. What was he to do? Yes, all that is settled, he cried. I invited you all to see me in the Marabar Caves. I shall be delighted. Oh, that is a most magnificent entertainment compared to my poor sweets. But has not Miss Quested visited our caves already? Asked Fielding. No, I've not even heard of them. Not heard of them, both cried. The Marabar Caves in the Marabar Hills? We hear nothing interesting at the club, only tennis and ridiculous gossip. The old man was silent, perhaps feeling that it was unseemly for her to criticize her race, perhaps fearing that if he agreed, she would report him for disloyalty. But the young man uttered a rapid, "I know." "Then tell me everything you will, or I shall never understand India. Are they the hills I sometimes see in the evening? What are these caves?" Aziz undertook to explain, but it presently appeared that he had never visited the caves himself, had always been meaning to go, but work or private business had prevented him, and they were so far. Professor Godbold chaffed him pleasantly. "My dear young sir, the pot and the kettle. Have you ever heard of that useful proverb?" "Are they large caves?" she asked. "No, not large." "Do describe them, Professor Godbold. It will be a great honor." He drew up his chair, and an expression of tension came over his face. Taking the cigarette box she offered to him and to Aziz, and lit up herself. After an impressive pause, he said, "There is an entrance in the rock, which you enter, and through the entrance is the cave." "Something like the caves of Elephanta?" "Oh no, not at all. At Elephanta, there are sculptures of Siva and Parvati. There are no sculptures at Marabar." "They are immensely holy, no doubt," said Aziz, to help on the narrative. "Oh no, oh no." "Still, they are ornamented in some way." "Oh no." "Well, why are they so famous? We all talk of the famous Marabar caves. Perhaps that is our empty brag." "No, I should not quite say that. Describe them to this lady, then." "It will be a great pleasure." He forewent the pleasure, and Aziz realized that he was keeping back something about the caves. He realized because he often suffered from similar inhibitions himself. Sometimes to the exasperation of Major Calendar, he would pass over one relevant fact in a position to dwell on the hundreds of irrelevant. The Major accused him of disingenuousness, and was roughly right, but only roughly. It was rather that a power he couldn't control capriciously silenced his mind. Godbold had been silenced now, no doubt not willingly. He was concealing something. Handled subtly, he might regain control and announce that the Marabar caves were full of stalactites, perhaps. Aziz led up to this, but they weren't. The dialogue remained light and friendly, and Adila had no conception of its underdrift. She did not know that the comparatively simple mind of the Mohammedan was encountering an ancient knight. Aziz played a thrilling game. He was handling a human toy that refused to work. He knew that much. If it worked, neither he nor Professor Godbold would be the least advantaged, but the attempt enthralled him and was akin to abstract thought. On he chattered, defeated at every move by an opponent who would not even admit that a move had been made, and further than ever from discovering what, if anything, was extraordinary about the Marabar caves. Into this, Ronnie dropped. With an annoyance he took no trouble to conceal, he was called from the garden. "What's happened to Fielding? Where's my mother?" "Good evening," she replied coolly. "I want you and Mother at once. There's to be polo." "I thought there was to be no polo." "Everything's altered. Some soldier men have come in. Come along, and I'll tell you about it." "Your mother will return shortly, sir," said Professor Godbold, who had risen with deference. There is but little to see at our poor college." Ronnie took no notice, but continued to address his remarks to Adila. He had hurried away from his work to take her to see polo, because he thought it would give her pleasure. He did not mean to be rude to the two men, but the only link he could be conscious of with an Indian was the official, and neither happened to be his subordinate. As private individuals, he forgot them. Unfortunately, Aziz was in no mood to be forgotten. He would not give up the secure and intimate note of the last hour. He had not risen with Godbold, and now, offensively friendly, he called from his seat. "Come along and join us, Mr. Hazlett. Sit down till your mother turns up." Ronnie replied by ordering one of Fielding's servants to fetch his mother at once. "He may not understand that. Allow me." Aziz repeated the order idiomatically. Ronnie was tempted to retort. He knew the type. He knew all types. And this was the spoiled westernized. But he was a servant of the government, and it was his job to avoid incidents, so he said nothing, and ignored the provocation that Aziz continued to offer. Aziz was provocative. Everything he said was had an impertinent flavor, or jarred. His wings were flailing, were failing, but he refused to fall without a struggle. He did not mean to be impertinent to Mr. Hazlett, who had never done him harm, but there was an Anglo-Indian who must become a man before comfort could be regained. He did not mean to be greasily confidential to Miss Quested, only to enlist her support, nor to be loud and jolly towards Professor Godbolt.